Hello, all you beautiful souls. Today I want to discuss the art of needing external validation in order to feel confident within, and how we can let go of that need for external approval in order to feel valid. And so over the years, confidence has really shifted for me. At first, confidence was this external appearance of showing up as if you knew it all, and you gave this sense of pride and the sense of knowing what you're doing at all costs. And this can become destructive because it's based off of ego. So the outside, you have this armor, this mask, kind of putting on this show of confidence, while you are internally feeling unworthy, feeling doubt and fear. And your internal state shifts depending on how the world views you. So for example, if a certain person sees you as good or bad, you take that as validation, versus the next person, versus a collective, versus different areas of your life, whether it's family, career, friends, your community. However, your internal state will shift dependent on what the world, so something outside of you, someone outside of you, what they think of you. And so the more I'm becoming vulnerable and comfortable with my vulnerability, the more my confidence is becoming humbled. I can show up imperfectly. It's scary. It feels weird and uncomfortable because we are dissolving this mask, this armor that was protecting us at one point, right? However, when we become adults, we don't need that sort of protection. We may need it in certain intense situations, 1000%, but on a daily basis, as long as we're in a secure environment, we can start letting down that mask and that armor. And so confidence becomes grounded in humbleness. And then what happens is you start connecting to your soul instead of connecting to your ego. And the more you connect to your soul, because vulnerability comes from opening your heart, being okay with your imperfections, being okay with not being okay with wherever it is that you are and whatever it is that's coming up for you in the moment, and not trying to change it. And so the more we are comfortable with that, we connect to our soul and we start connecting to this source. And when we connect to this source, we start becoming unshakable. That takes time though. That takes multiple experiences, multiple exposures, multiple times where you are vulnerable. And it's this dance between the ego and the soul until it slowly dissolves. And so you'll still find yourself being influenced by the outside world. You'll need approval or validation from external people in different sections of your life. And you can utilize this to help you bridge the gap. So for example, if you're feeling unworthy in a certain area of your life, you can focus definitely on other things where you do feel worthy to help you feel more confident in the moment. However, this is still at the end of the day a band-aid effect if we don't practice vulnerability. Because really what's going to bridge the gap is the art of being vulnerable, being raw, being truthful. And that doesn't mean you have to have a conversation with someone who's not ready to hear what you have to say. You can do this all internally as well. So, for example, you might have certain expectations for yourself in your career, or maybe as a stay-at-home parent, whatever it may be. And you show up in the way that you think is best. And someone outside of you, rather that's a coworker, a manager, or maybe your child, right? If you're a stay-at-home parent, will shake you in a way where it will question the way you're showing up. It'll question how you are doing things. And so in those moments, we need to pause and ask ourselves if we are showing up the way we would want someone else to show up. That is a great question to ask ourselves in the moment if we're unsure and we feel shaken up and confused by a certain situation where we think we're showing up at our best, but we have conflict or a judgment or someone else's opinion from an outside source coming towards us, and now we are unsure, we are clouded. So we might feel like in that moment we want to put back that armor on because it's scary sometimes to be vulnerable, and it's also scary to stand in our truth if we are prone to be people pleasers our entire lives and are afraid of conflict or afraid of arguments or afraid of rocking the boat if we've always walked on eggshells, right? And so we can sit with that and say, actually, I am okay with how I'm showing up right now. Or maybe we might say, actually, the way I'm showing up is not how I want to, but thank you for bringing that awareness, because now I can take a different action, a different approach next time. But we couldn't have done that without that awareness piece and without that conversation with someone externally. However, the important part is not to take that external opinion, external judgment to heart right away. We need to sit and observe with it and ask ourselves, does this align with my soul? And you have to be raw and real and create this self-assessment and reflection piece about yourself. And sometimes it's hard to do because we don't like to criticize ourselves. We may want to criticize other people. However, at the end of the day, our thoughts about other people, even though we might not agree with their action, the way we respond is a reflection of our internal state. And so the more we can be gentle and self-reflect with ourselves when other people are judging us, the more we can actually do the same for ourselves when we're judging someone else. And so that's how we kind of break that cycle. And so, like I mentioned previously, when we talk about confidence, instead of it being masked by ego, trying to prove yourself to the world because you're hiding this inner child who needs to prove themselves to their parent, their friends, their community, right? We act from a place of alignment. We're more in connection with our soul. And then there's nothing left to prove because now we feel worthy where it is that we stand. Or we can take that piece of advice, that judgment or that opinion, and sit with it and self-evaluate ourselves and make changes accordingly. It's not a threat anymore. And we don't have to be, our worthiness doesn't have to be shaken up by an external source anymore. We can utilize that now as an awareness piece to change if needed, or to understand that people are coming from their own judgments, their own perspectives. And if you're comfortable with the way that you're showing up and you feel there's no need to change, then you don't have to. You can keep showing up vulnerable and imperfect the way that you are. And yes, learn and grow, but still be confident and feel valued for where you are in the moment without allowing external sources to shake that up within you.